Hey, welcome back to Diode Press. I'm Graham. In today's video, I'm going to be making a 5-color reduction woodcut print. So let's get to it. I've had a lot of questions about reduction prints, so I'm going to try and go through the process as clearly as I can. But let me know if you have any questions, and I'll try to cover them in future videos or over on Instagram. I drew out my image first with a pencil on the wood block, and then with a pen to finalize it. With a reduction woodcut, every color is going to be printed from the same block, and you carve away areas of the block between each printed layer. I designated each layer with a different color with a marker, so I could easily keep track of what needs to be carved away next. And then I sprayed a light layer of wood sealer to preserve it all. I'm printing with a water-based ink, so you'll have to test out any solvents you might be using to make sure you don't erase the image in between prints. To give a quick visual of the process, first you carve away all the areas that you want to have no ink on, basically just the white parts of the paper for the final print, so the outline of the print and any highlights. Then you print this layer on your full edition of say 20 sheets of paper. Once you get to the next step, you can never redo this layer, so print a couple extra in case you mess up down the line with other layers. Next, I carve away the background of the block, ink up my next layer, and print again on all my sheets with a new color. This process continues for as many layers as you want. Ideally, you'd want to plan out your image to print lighter inks first and then darker on top, finishing the print off with your darkest outline or key block layer. I'm printing this one on Arnhem 1618 paper from Speedball. And I'm also using their Pro Relief inks and mixing up a batch of the color I want for this first background layer. While I'm mixing up the ink, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with all these projects. I'm really working to edit and post these videos often. You can see here that testing the ink on the paper will give a good indication of the final look, since it's always a little bit different when you have it just on the glass slab. And now I can print that first layer. Have a look at some of my other woodcut videos about creating a registration jig, but it's really important that you use some way to keep the paper lined up with the block exactly the same each time you print it, so all the layers line up. On to the next layer. We've printed that background area. Now we want to print all the floating objects and their shadows only, so that outer area has to go. Every layer gets printed on top of the previous layer, so in a 5-color print, the last layer of ink is going to be sitting on top of the 4 previous layers. These little shadows are small, but they add a lot to the final print, but now we want them gone as well, so we can print our first blue layer. And one more time, carving off the area we just printed blue, leaving all the areas of the block we want to print dark blue. Here you can see the side by side of the previous layer and then this dark blue layer printed on top of it. Finally, I can work on the final layer. This is where things get tough on this print. Having the outlines might be easy to draw with a pen, but definitely adds a lot of time to carve in these thin lines. I'm using a really sharp knife to cut the lines, and then a series of gouges to remove the areas in between. And as I get to the end of this project, be sure to check out the Patreon page linked in the description if you want to help support these projects and get some other perks. I really do appreciate it. And there's also some new t-shirts available through Teespring down in the description. Now getting back to the print, you might notice I also cut off some of the block with a bandsaw, just so I didn't have to worry about ink getting into these background areas. Since I like a cleaner, kind of less background chatter type of print, but that's just my style. Now here we have a finished print ready to trim, sign, and number. As you saw, once you make a reduction print, you can never make that print again. So if you want one, head over to the shop, pick one up while they last. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching! To keep up with the videos when they're posted, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want to help support this channel, you can check out the Diode Press Patreon page, where I post behind the scenes photos, as well as other patron rewards. Thanks!